The movie begins inside a train where a man named Reese sits quietly in his seat. Suddenly, a group of thugs walks in and starts bothering him. "Huh, you want to see a real gun?" one of them sneers. They mistake Reese for some harmless street guy and begin to act aggressively. But within moments, Reese steps in with calm confidence and lightning-fast moves. He takes them all down one by one. In just minutes, he throws them to the ground and leaves them helpless. After the thugs are arrested and taken to the police station, Detective Carter watches security footage of Reese fighting them. As she observes his swift and precise moves, she is clearly shocked. There is something about the way he fights that's not normal. It's sharp, tactical, and professional. Curious and cautious, Carter walks into the interrogation room and begins questioning Reese, suspecting he must have a background in special forces or some elite unit. His combat skills are just too refined for an ordinary person. She asks him for his name. Reese, with a calm but guarded expression, replies that it seems like she's asking because he's in trouble. Just then, a man shows up at the station to get Reese released. Within moments, he pulls a few strings and walks Reese right out of the police station, leaving Carter with more questions than answers. Outside the station, Reese thanks the man who helped him as temporary counselor. With a puzzled look, Reese asks why he did all this, especially since they don't even know each other. The man simply replies that someone wants to talk to him. Without explaining much, he leads Reese far away from the city noise to a quiet spot near a river. There, waiting for him, is a man named Mr. Finch. Mr. Finch calmly tells Reese that he knows everything about him. Reese doesn't believe him and stares back, saying Finch doesn't know him at all. That's when Finch starts reminding him of his past. Reese once worked for the government and was part of dangerous covert missions. He talks about the things that eventually broke him and reminds Reese how the same government began using him like a weapon until he finally walked away. Finch reveals the most shocking part. The government believes Reese is dead. Reese is stunned. He wasn't expecting anyone to know so much, let alone a complete stranger. Then Finch gets to the point. He tells Reese he has a job for Himoni that might just save his life. Finch takes Reese to New York City, a fast-moving, crowded place. Standing amid the noise and energy of the city, Finch tells him something chilling. Every 18 hours, someone dies in New York. Reese stays calm and responds that bad things happen to people all the time. But Finch has a different perspective. He explains that many of these crimes don't just happen out of nowhere, they're planned weeks or even months in advance. And if someone knew who the target was before the crime happened, they could save a life. That's where Finch comes in. These people don't even know what's coming for them. Most are just regular, everyday people, and they all need help. Then Finch points toward a woman buying coffee. Her name is Diane. Finch tells Reese that this woman is at the top of his list for the week. He explains that they don't know exactly what's going to happen to her or what role she plays in the coming event. She could be the victim, or she could be the perpetrator. Finch says the system doesn't give much other than a social security number. But even that is enough to stop something terrible if they act in time. That's where Reese comes in. Finch wants him to follow Diane, observe her, figure out what's about to happen, and stop it. Reese looks over at Diane and watches her from a distance, studying her for a moment. Then, with a slight smirk, he tells Finch that maybe she's just involved in some kind of relationship drama. Maybe he is a jilted lover, or maybe Diane is his ex-wife or secret girlfriend. He shrugs and says he's done because he's not interested. Before Finch can stop him, Reese disappears. He slips past Finch's guards effortlessly, vanishing into the city like a shadow. Reese returns to a hotel. He shaves, then lies on the bed with a drink in hand, slowly drifting off to sleep. Later, a noise wakes him. As he reaches for his phone, he realizes one of his hands is tied to the bed. On the other end of the call is Finch, speaking calmly. Finch tells him he needs to understand something. The information they get might be incomplete, but it's never wrong. Finch explains that Reese should know what it feels like to have the knowledge that someone is going to die and still be unable to help them. That helplessness is what Finch wants him to grasp. Reese starts getting angry. Suddenly, he hears someone outside the door. Without waiting, he breaks a mirror with the help of a lamp and uses it to free his hand. Acting fast, he gets ready. As he opens the door, inside there's a speaker playing a recording. In the other room, Finch sits quietly. He tells Ree that he's already too late. The recording Ree just heard is from 3 years ago. In that very room, a woman was murdered by her husband for insurance money. Finch explains that Ree was too late to save her, just like he was too late to save his friend Jessica. She died while he was on the other side of the world, unable to do anything. Hearing Jessica's name shocks Ree. He grabs Finch and pushes him against the wall, anger rising in his eyes as he demands to know how Finch knows about her. But Finch stays calm. He tells Ree that he left the government because they lied to him, but promises he will never lie to Ree. He says he believes Ree always wanted to save people, but the government used him for its own goals. Ree finally lets him go. Ree picks up the recording and realizes it's a wiretap. That means Finch must have ties to the government or the NSA. He questions Finch directly. Finch replies calmly that he isn't part of the government. Ree can consider him a concerned third party. Then Finch says something more. He admits that maybe he couldn't save that woman, and Ree couldn't save Jessica either. But now they have a chance to save Diane. Finch is giving him the opportunity to be there in time. Ree listens, and Finch's words start to get through to him. Finally, Finch shows him a picture of Diane and looks at Ree. He says the real question is whether he will be able to save her. Then, without waiting for an answer, Finch walks away. Finch shows Ree his office, the place where he operates everything behind the scenes. After that, they begin tracking Diane. As they follow her, Finch shares details about Diane's past life. Ree breaks into her house silently and efficiently. He plugs a flash drive into her laptop and copies all the files. He also checks her medicine prescriptions, gathering as much information as he can. Later, he heads to the courthouse where Diane works as a prosecutor. There, he hacks into her phone without being detected. Afterward, they monitor Diane's apartment through hidden cameras. Ree updates Finch and explains that given Diane's line of work, she could have many enemies, but he's narrowed it down to 2 potential threats. The first is her co-counselor Wheeler, someone she had been seeing for the past few months but now wants to cut off from her life. The second is a man named Pope. Diane visits Pope in prison. She sits across from him and asks directly about the truth. She believes he may not have killed the people he's being charged for. She suspects his younger brother Michael might be involved. It seems to her that Pope is protecting someone else by taking the fall. But Pope warns her that the people involved are extremely dangerous. If she keeps digging, they'll come for her, they'll kill both of them. Diane doesn't back down. She says she's going to bring them to justice. She knows they're still out there walking free. Pope loses his temper, attacks her, and tells her to stay away. If she doesn't, he and Michael will both end up dead. Ree meets Michael and tries to ask him a few questions about Pope, but Michael stays silent and quickly walks away. Before leaving, Ree secretly slips a mobile phone into Michael's bag. Through it, he can track his location and listen to his surroundings. A little while later, a group of men abducts Michael. As they begin to beat him, Ree arrives just in time. Ree quickly takes down the attackers and rescues Michael. But then Ree notices something strange. The men he just fought are actually police officers. Everything starts to make sense. Michael and Pope are trying to escape the police, not because they're guilty, but because the real killers are inside the force itself. The police committed the murders and framed Pope to cover it up. Ree meets Finch and shares what he's uncovered. He believes the group involved are corrupt police officers. Their leader is Stills, who works in narcotics. Ree explains that they steal drugs, eliminate witnesses, and then pass the case on to Detective Fusco. After that, they plant false evidence and frame people like Pope to cover their tracks. While monitoring Diane's apartment, Ree sees her receive a call from Stills. He tells her to meet him. Ree follows her to the meeting. As Stills pulls out his gun and fires at her, Diane suddenly lashes out. She yells at him angrily. Ree realizes something critical. Diane is not just involved. She is the real perpetrator. She's been part of the entire scheme. Diane tells Stills their real problem is her counselor Wheeler. He knows too much. She warns that they'll need to deal with Wheeler before he becomes a threat. The next day in court, Diane prepares to play a 911 call recording as part of the evidence. But as soon as she hits play, something unexpected happens. Ree has already replaced the recording. Instead of the original audio, Diane's own voice plays in the courtroom. In the recording, she is clearly threatening Wheeler, telling Stills to kill him. Her voice is cold and calculating. She warns that if he fails, she'll take care of Stills too, just like she had Pope killed in prison. Diane is stunned. Her face freezes in shock as the courtroom goes silent. After that, Ree confronts Detective Fusco and holds him at gunpoint. Fusco is also a corrupt cop, and Ree knows it. Ree gives him a choice: either start working for him from the inside, or he'll expose everything Fusco's secrets, every dirty deal, every cover-up. With no other option, Fusco agrees. Just like that, Ree gains access to the inner workings of the police department. All the case files, records, and confidential intel are now within reach. The next day, Ree calls Finch and says he handled the two men from last night who planned to kill a wealthy man. Later, they meet in person, and Finch shares the next case about protecting a 15-year-old girl named Teresa, who was declared dead 2 years ago. Despite that, Finch believes she might still be alive. So Ree begins his search, digging into the incident from 2 years ago. He starts investigating the chain of events that led to the death of Teresa's entire family in what appeared to be a tragic accident. Ree listens to a news report from that time. In it, Teresa's uncle explains how her father killed the entire family and then took his own life. He says the man was under immense financial pressure. But something about it doesn't sit right with Ree. He tells Finch the whole thing feels more like a professional hit, not a murder-suicide. He believes the police missed something important. But the big question remains: where is Teresa? Finch suggests they look into Teresa's Aunt Elizabeth. There's a possibility Teresa may have gone to her. So Ree heads off to find her and uncover more about what really happened. Finch visits Teresa's aunt, pretending to be from an insurance company. He learns that Teresa's body was never found, and the family buried an empty coffin, assuming the ocean took her during the beach incident. The aunt, still grieving, says she loved and misses Teresa deeply. Later, Finch tells Ree the police might have been wrong and suggests Teresa could have run away and stayed with friends. Ree follows up, posing as a detective to question one of her old friends. But the boy grows defensive and insists Teresa died 2 years ago. Ree quietly pairs the boy's phone with his own before handing it back. He discovers a message the boy sent to Teresa telling her that she needs to disappear. At that moment, Ree spots Teresa standing at a distance. He immediately starts following her, but she manages to slip away before he can catch up. After that, Ree meets Detective Fusco in his car. Ree had earlier forced Fusco to work for him at gunpoint. Now, he questions Fusco about the crew possibly connected to Teresa's family's murder. Fusco tells him that if someone from that area was responsible, it would likely be a specific group. Ree heads straight to them. After roughing up a few members, he finally gets the name of the man behind it all. The man's name is Slonick, and he is already in prison for another case. Ree visits Slonick there and questions him about the family he killed years ago. He asks why Slonick murdered them and dumped their bodies in the water. Ree threatens Slonick, warning that revealing his kill list will only make things worse. Slonick finally admits to killing Teresa's family but claims he never harms children. He says the job came through a one-time contact whose name he doesn't know. Ree informs Finch, who suspects the people behind the hit now know Teresa is alive and may have hired someone else to finish the job. They need to find her fast. Just then, Finch says he might have found a lead. Teresa's father had recently done business with a company named Landale, so Ree begins investigating Landale's office from a distance. He updates Finch, saying that everything inside looks like normal office activity. But suddenly, Ree spots Teresa's Uncle Derek inside the building. That's when he realizes something suspicious is definitely going on. On the other side, Finch manages to find Teresa's address and informs Ree. Ree heads there to locate her. When he finally meets Teresa, she immediately threatens him, warning him not to come any closer or she will attack him. Ree calmly tells Teresa he's there to protect her because someone wants her dead. Suddenly a man attacks from behind. Ree barely saves them, shoots at the attacker, and escapes with Teresa. But the attacker, wearing a bulletproof vest, survives. Ree takes Teresa to his hotel and questions why she didn't go to her Uncle Derek after escaping. She says her father warned her because Derek was behind it all. The man who killed her father even said it was Derek's fault. That's why she hid with friends instead. Finch arrives, and Ree leaves Teresa in his care. Then Ree meets Derek and bluntly asks if he had his own brother and family killed to seize their property and inheritance. Derek denies it. He explains that his brother believed this new project might change their lives, but they didn't have enough money. So Derek arranged a meeting between him and the Landale people. What he didn't know was that Landale was involved in shady business. When Teresa's father couldn't repay the money, they killed the whole family so the land would go to Derek, who could transfer it to them. That land is now worth over 50 times more. Derek says they've kept him alive only because the land is in his name for now. At this point, Ree pieces everything together. He tells Derek that since Teresa is alive, if this news comes out, all the property will legally go to her. Derek will be left with nothing. Ree rams a truck into the Landale owner's car, flipping it. Then he approaches the wreck and warns the man to stop the hitman. But the man says it's too late because they've already found Teresa and the killer is on the way. Ree quickly calls Finch, urging him to leave immediately. Finch grabs Teresa, and they rush to escape the hotel. Just as they reach the door, the killer shows up right outside the gate and points his gun at them, ready to shoot. But right at that moment, Ree arrives on the scene. He charges in and takes down the assassin just in time, saving Finch and Teresa. At the police station, Detective Carter meets Teresa. Carter gently asks her who saved her and why she never came forward all this time. But Teresa doesn't say anything. She stays quiet. Just then, her Aunt Elizabeth arrives. Teresa immediately runs to her and hugs her tightly. Elizabeth holds her close and then takes her home. The next day, Finch tells Ree that they have a new case. This time, it's about a soldier named Joey. He recently returned from serving in Afghanistan and is now working as a doorman, but his life is in danger. Ree starts tailing Joey. He also clones his phone to monitor his activity. One day, while following him, Ree watches Joey walk into a bank, pretending to check something casually. Suddenly, Joey puts on a mask and joins a group of armed men. Together, they rob the entire bank. They steal all the money, and Ree, lying on the ground with the rest of the civilians, quietly observes everything. After that, Ree tells Finch that Joey is a bank robber. But Finch explains that all of Joey's previous activities have been non-lethal, and robbery doesn't usually fall under their case type. So they at least need to figure out why Joey is doing all this. Ree keeps following Joey and sees him meeting a woman. Joey gives her some money and talks to her briefly before leaving. Ree finds this strange because Joey already has a girlfriend. Now it looks like he's involved with another woman too, which raises suspicion. Ree and Finch suspect Joey might harm a woman. When Ree sees him receive a cash-filled parcel from a taxi, Finch traces the cab to a bar owned by ex-Sergeant Major Sam. Ree visits Sam, earns his trust by posing as a fellow soldier, and is offered a job. That night, Sam calls and says Ree will meet the team. Instead, they kidnap him. Joey holds him at gunpoint, demanding answers. Ree claims he's just a soldier trying to survive after being abandoned by the government. Joey convinces lowers the gun and lets him join. Later, Ree sees Joey meet a woman with a child and updates Finch, asking for a background check on them. That night, Joey and his crew rob a casino while Ree watches from afar, hearing police sirens through his synced radio. Ree quickly warns them. The crew grabs what they can and escapes just before the police arrive, saved by Ree's timely alert. The next day, Ree meets Joey and tells him about a new job. But Ree is already suspicious. He says they're about to risk everything again, and this time things could go wrong because their partner Straw is involved. Ree describes Straw as a reckless guy who could mess up the entire operation. Joey, however, explains that he's only doing all this because he badly needs money. Ree and Finch receive a new number. This time, it's a judge named Gates, a single parent raising his young son, Sam. Ree tails Gates and notices men following him. A man pulls out a phone and throws it in a trash bin. Ree retrieves the phone and discovers plans to kidnap Sam. Ree alerts Finch and rushes to Sam's location, but the boy is already surrounded by kidnappers. Ree jumps in to fight but is outnumbered and gets hit hard. The attackers grab Sam and disappear. Judge Gates receives a threatening call, warning him not to involve the police or federal agents or his son will be harmed. Ree arrives and promises to help recover Sam safely. Gates is initially suspicious but agrees to work with Ree. Ree meets Detective Fusco, hands him a bullet, and asks him to run ballistics and investigate a man possibly connected to the kidnapping. Finch hacks into the cell phone company and traces the kidnapper's location. Ree confronts and takes down the man, discovering a gang symbol tattooed on his chest. Ree realizes Sam has been kidnapped by a European street gang tied to violent warlords, now expanding into New York. Ree reassures Judge Gates and explains the gang's involvement. Gates receives another call demanding he exonerate Angela Markham or his son will be killed. Ree interrogates the captured man, warning it won't take long to break him. The man cracks and reveals the gang's money collection address. Ree finds a cash stash and brings it to Finch. Finch explains Angela, a banker, laundered money for the gang but got into legal trouble after a hit and run. Angela turned to the gang for help. Judge Gates reluctantly declares Angela innocent. Immediately after, he receives a call revealing Sam's location. Gates rushes to the exchange point, but kidnappers are ready to kill Sam. Ree arrives with Angela at gunpoint, warning he'll shoot her if they hurt Sam. A shootout erupts. Ree rescues both Sam and Gates. Finch anonymously leaves a file on Angela's counselor's desk, proving Angela's crimes. The case is reopened. Ree and Finch lead police to Angela's hideout, where she and gang members are arrested. Ree now works undercover as Zoe Morgan's driver. Zoe confirms her usual driver was replaced. Finch poses as a company representative and reassures her. On the way, Zoe stops to meet shady dealers and receives a mysterious package Ree suspects is a weapon. Finch finds a hidden gun in Zoe's apartment, but later, Zoe hands it to the police chief, demanding the investigation against Councilman Rush be dropped. Zoe meets a man who hires her to retrieve a recording from a reporter. The recording contains sensitive information about Lawson, owner of a pharmaceutical company. Zoe retrieves the recording but is attacked. Ree rescues her. Zoe reveals she made a backup copy. The recording contains a woman named Dana's voice exposing a scandal. Dana died mysteriously 2 years ago. Finch visits the pharmaceutical company disguised as an investor, meets Lawson and Killer, learns about a new drug. Zoe and Ree break into the company, discover the drug caused deaths in trials. Caught by Lawson's men, Zoe negotiates to keep the report safe. Zoe kisses Ree, secretly gives him a hairpin. Ree fights off attackers and rescues her. Finch reveals he sold Keller's shares after learning of impending legal action. Ree rescues Zoe, driving her home safely. Comment, subscribe, and turn on the bell notification to notify you when we post another recap. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for the next recap.